have this meeting to ratify the unanimous consent forms. We would like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
A call to order.
What's happening? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear anything?
Mine's on. They can hear you.
Let's,
Call to
so
order.
we're here. Did you hear what I said before?
All right, I'm going to take the
Okay.
roll call.
Okay.
Okay?
You want to do that before Pledge Allegiance?
They did the Pledge of Allegiance.
We did that.
We did the pledge.
Okay, all right, I couldn't hear it.
Okay.
All right.
Sabrina,
Here,
Kim,
Here.
Joe.
Here.
Dick,
Here.
Paul,
Here.
Eileen,
Here.
Brenda, here. Okay.
now I'm opening it up to the floor for comments. You have 3 minutes, and it's got to be on agenda items.
Opening to the board, she said.
Any comments?
She's
Anybody?
opening up comments. You have 3 minutes to speak. And it has to be related to the agenda today.
First of all, we need to know what we're talking about.
Well,
Agenda went out.
So we can discuss.
Your 3 minutes starts when we
settle down.
Okay, my question is to you is, we need to know what we're discussing. You said a ratification of a unanimous meeting. Don't you guys need to say something first so we know what we're talking about?
Well, if you have an agenda, it says the first one, A, is the Clements Pest Control. So we're speaking, you don't have an agenda?
What went out?
We'll do,
We can do one contract at a time, if that makes it easier.
will that make that easier? We'll do one contract.
On the first item is the ratification of the unanimous consent form for the
I hate that.
contract for Clements Pest Control to do Centricom systems at 49 buildings, because 2 of them already have Centricom systems in them. I believe it's 15 and 16. I'm going by memory here, folks. And then the 2 clubhouses, and that's in the amount of the 31,000.
110.
So
No.
that's the first item up for ratification. Anybody have any comments that they'd like to speak about on this contract?
Yes.
Okay, was this voted on by the board already?
Well, they signed unanimous consent forms, and now they're ratifying it to go into the minutes.
Well, the form that you guys did on email is illegal. That's against Florida statutes. So you got
Which form?
to, these votes have got to be brought up against a board meeting or a special meeting. It can't be done on emails. That's illegal for Florida statutes. You can conduct community business on emails, but you cannot vote on emails.
Sabrina, did you hear?
He's saying it's illegal according to the attorney. When we asked him, it's not illegal.
Which Florida statute are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because I've never seen we have been signing unanimous consent forms since I became a board member and way before that.
You're never signed one to vote. You sign it to approve things, to approve monies, to approve that. I was on the board for 2 years, I know. But we never voted for anything. You can't do that by a board. And I'll tell you what statute is, none of you know it.
Well, unless you can give us the statute number, we're gonna have to move on, because I've never seen that statute, and you can't just state the Florida statutes say this.
That's-
You need to give us the exact statute number. And Holly, I don't know if you want to speak to this, but we've been signing unanimous consent forms since the week I joined the board
And I did-
over a year ago.
And I did speak to
which is today.
If you look up 718-112-2-C, it'll tell you what it is. You can communicate all you want to on, as far as community, but once you bring the business into the association, you cannot vote by email. So if you look at that statute, you'll see it.
And just real quick, because we need to move on, for clarification, it was not a vote for the special assessment by email by any means. The unanimous consent form was done for each of the contracts that are involved in the special assessment. It was for the contracts only. The board signed to approve them, and now they're ratifying what they approved at this meeting, so it can go in the minutes along with the unanimous consent forms, just to back it all up in preparation for the special assessment meeting on Thursday.
Got it?
To approve
So the
the
board is
special
following the
assessment has
statute.
not happened yet. The meeting for the special assessment where we would vote is in a couple of days. Nobody's voted on the special assessment.
Well, wait a second. If we're voting to do these three projects, how are we gonna pay for that?
Special assessment.
Special assessment. So you're voting for the special assessment if you pass these three projects.
No.
No, we're voting for the
Contracts.
contracts.
We find our unanimous consent forms. That's what this meeting is for. We're not talking special assessment. We're talking ratifying our unanimous consent forms that we all signed previously. That's all. And we've done nothing illegal. It's been cleared all with our attorney. Everything we have done and will do is all legal. And by statute.
And remember, this question really has to do with the Centricon system, is where we are now for the contracts.
Right.
Termites.
Right now, we're talking about the pest control, you said, correct? That's what they're asking. So if it's related to pest control, anybody else? All right, move on.
Take your vote now to ratify that, then we'll move to the next.
She's gonna do the motion.
Yeah, your motion on contract.
So
What, somebody has something?
I'd like to do a motion to approve the Centricon, pest contract with Clements.
Yes?
On the Citricon,
Read it.
On the
You want me
Cetricon?
to read it? This stuff?
It's
Yes.
a ratification, meaning they're backing up what they already signed, so it goes in the minutes and becomes part of the legal documents for the community, which will include these minutes plus the unanimous consent forms.
Well, the problem with that is, you only gave us 3 days notice for this meeting.
That's all.
You're supposed to have 14 days.
No.
No, you're incorrect.
For this meeting, 48
We're
hours.
not gonna argue
It was
about
looked
this.
up.
I'm sorry, go ahead with your motion.
Go ahead, Kim.
This is being recorded, this meeting, correct?
Yes. Kim?
Sorry.
It was Sabrina.
Close the door.
Where,
I
where'd
had
you
to
go
close the door.
with your lamp hat?
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we ratify the unanimous consent forms that we signed for the Centricon system with Clements Pest Control.
I second it.
Okay,
The vote?
each one of us.
Each
so
one.
let's start
Kim?
with Paul. Paul, do you agree?
Aye, yes.
Aye.
Dick?
Yes.
Eileen?
Eileen?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Myself? Yes, and Sabrina.
Sabrina?
Motion is approved.
Next business.
The next contract. Next one is,
Triple A. Me?
okay, let's talk about the buildings, I guess. What, the next contract is,
AAA.
AAA. Any comments on AAA?
I'm coming.
This is just on ratifying.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Nona, and I'm in Building 12. And I just have a couple of questions. I'm not really good at this, so this is just regarding the repairs for the building. How was the assessment amount for the 2 2s versus the 2 1s and the 1 1 determined, since this is a capital improvement involving exteriors?
The special assessment works the same way as your regular maintenance assessment. Every unit owner, based on the size of your unit, owns a certain percentage. I don't know off the top of my head.
I do.
I can get that information for you. It is in your documents, how that's calculated per unit, per size. So just like all of you don't pay the same thing every month, you would not pay the same thing for your special assessments. It's based on the same.
It was set up in the bylaws.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that. I just have one other question regarding the repairs to the building. And I'm sorry, I wasn't here for the meetings, I was working, but what was the reason for the start of the investigation for the buildings? And also that I didn't see anything in the engineer's report that mentions risk of imminent failure.
You talking about AAA?
Uh-huh.
Yes. Joe?
You want to address this?
Joe want to talk?
Do we want things
Well,
to be in danger before we
We
fix
started
them?
looking at this when, after the
Do you want the
Surfside
catwalk to be on the
condominium.
verge of falling off when you fix it, before you fix it?
We started looking at this in 2021 when the Surfside condominium collapsed in Miami. And the state started being proactive on repairing buildings, and they adopted the SERS for 3 stories and above. But being 50 years old, the board started looking at our buildings, deciding if we needed to have major work done.
But did any government entity get involved? Did they say you have to do this? Or?
They will.
Well, no, but the buildings being 50 years old, we would want, make sure they are safe. The engineers came in here and found cracks and structural problems that we are going to talk about on Thursday. This is really just to ratify our unanimous. But once they found problems, then we are liable for those problems. And if anything should happen, anybody gets hurt, we are liable if we do not take action on the faults that we find in the buildings.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Yeah, we can't wait till things are imminent that they're gonna happen. That is not, you just can't do that. That's not, we would be negligent.
And if you do look at some of the railings, they're very loose and they need to be fixed.
Jacob, so here's a question. I noticed there's 10 buildings that need work, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was like $750,000?
About.
And you said these are all 50-year-old buildings, but we have 51 buildings, and this just addresses 10. So is there a possibility, all being in the same age group, that this could multiply by 5?
Yes, they all need work.
So we should all be aware that our assessments could be 5 times larger fairly soon.
No, we're going to break it out over
5 years.
2 to 5 years. We don't know. It depends upon what our, what the bids come through at.
And these are the worst 10 buildings.
Yeah, they picked the 10.
Right.
Buildings we're doing first
Sure.
are the worst.
But
But
yes,
more than likely, we're going to see this sort of an assessment annually.
until we get the buildings improved.
Yeah, I just wanted to correct Eileen on this a little bit. This didn't come up just when the fall of the sunrise. The board looked at this 5 years ago, and they hired an engineer to do the buildings. At that time, they were going to do a 5-year plan, okay?
And it did nothing.
It was an estimate of about $10,000 per building at that time. So you multiply that by 51 buildings, that's about $510,000. Now, we heard down the road, all we heard was, don't kick the bucket down the road, don't kick the bucket down the road. Well, if we wouldn't have kicked the bucket down the road on those buildings, we wouldn't be paying almost $2 million to get these buildings done now.
Yes, so what's your point?
The point is, I mean, it's, you know, we waste money here is my point. We had an engineer report and we couldn't use it because it expired. So we had to pay $30,000, and I don't mind the buildings. The buildings need to be done. My opinion, the buildings need to be done, okay? So I'm not arguing that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
You have something?
Anybody else?
One more. It was my understanding from attending an earlier planning meeting. Oh, I'm Louis D'Esposito, 35J. Thank you. I was told that the railings are nothing's going to be done with the railings when the project to fix the landings is done. I was told that the railings, and it was said in the meeting, that the railings were not going to be done during these renovations. Am I wrong or right?
Can I speak?
Sure.
Okay, I think the confusion came from, there was talk about would they need to replace all the railings in this project? And the answer came out, no, they should, the railings that are existing, the railings themselves are in good shape. It's the installation into the cement and the rebar, securing them is the issue. So I think that's where maybe the confusion came from, because we did have an astronomical number for doing replacing them completely. But talking to CSM, the engineering group, they're like, no, your railings are fine. If we come into something where we cannot reuse your railing, we will let you know. And that's why we have contingency money built into this, so it won't be like, oh, it's costing more, we gotta come back to you all as owners for more money. That's why we did that, but the railings should be fine. They should be able to use the existing ones and replace them back properly like they should be into rebar and concrete.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have one back here.
Hi, I'm Carmen Kelp, 29B. And my question is, if we vote to, like I'm in 29B, so we're going to fix that building first, are we going to vote again next year for 10 more buildings, or is this vote for the whole community?
No, it's an ongoing program. All 51 buildings need work, is what the engineering companies determined. So yes, we plan on doing something the next 2 to 5 years, depending upon the cost. But the sooner we get it done, the better for all of us.
Diane McIntyre, 29E. You're not going to vote every time. This one vote covers all the buildings.
No,
No?
first 10.
Just the first 10?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you that I've had construction or caution tape on my building for over 5 months. The murder's been solved. And we're no longer condemned, so I can't wait for my tape to be removed.
All right, let's vote.
Okay. Motion? Oh, sorry.
My building, 14D. I'm Catherine Griffith from 14D. I am Catherine Griffith from 14D. Our building was on the list to be taken care of. We have cracks on the upper building in the concrete. We have cracks on the upper level that needs to be taken care of, and the walkways are cracked. I see we have been removed off that list. Why?
What number are you in?
14.
Building 14.
You're on this list I'm looking at.
Yeah, so you'll be one of the first ones. And also I want to add in, and this is already in the reserves, this is not part of the special assessment.
Oh, no.
Once your building's worked on,
It's not.
they're going to be painted and sealed.
14 is
Okay,
not on.
14 is not on the list.
14 is
So I
not.
would look to see, they may be on the following year. or-
These are the worst 10 they picked.
It was on one list, but then taken off.
One must have come up better.
Real quick, let me ask you. Are you having any issues?
Don't call Lonnie.
I had some work done on the top before because the water was coming through the cracks and coming into the apartment. Okay, they patched,
That, but it's patched right now?
they patched it up, and there's another crack coming out from the laundry room.
Okay, I'll check that out.
All right.
Thank you.
14. Anybody else? A motion?
So I'll make a
make a mo-
motion. Oh, go ahead, Sabrina.
I make a motion to ratify the AAA concrete restoration and waterproofing contract to make the necessary repairs, and it also includes CSM, that's gonna be doing the oversight on the project, and the 50% contingency for $731,253.58.
I second it.
You want me to do the vote, Brenda, or you want to do it?
I'll do it.
for it.
Sabrina? Sabrina? Vote?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yes.
Brenda? Yes. Okay.
Next contract is America Strong Construction for Pond 3. Any comments?
Okay, my comment is pretty much, I'm sort of talking for about 40 people here, because I've got a bunch of things going on, and they wanted me to speak at a meeting for them. But most of this is theirs, but I do have my own comment on another thing. We're looking at spending all this money on this pond right now, right? If we do not do the pond right now, we put it off until we get the buildings done, we can save, every assessment would be, mine would be $1,005 less a month for the assessment, okay? I had rather give that $1,505 to get the buildings done. That's what we need to get done. I'm not saying lower the price, lower the assessment, put the pond off. We had engineer report after engineer report. You just got another one. None of them's ever said the buildings are endangered, not even this last one you got. So what we need to do is we need to put the money to where the danger is. There's no danger in the ponds. The danger is in the buildings, okay? So if we get rid of the pond right now and put it off for a few years, when we go back and redo it after the buildings, then this is viable for people to pay. And I'll be glad to pay my extra $1,000 to go toward the buildings where you got safety issues. That's my comment. We need to put this off for 3 years, and take this money, if you want to, assess us this money, but let's put it in the buildings. We can get another 10 buildings done with the $600,000 we're going to spend on the pond. And another thing is the engineer recommended to do the whole pond. We're only doing half of it, okay? The reason they recommend to do the whole pond, because if you only do half of it, you get the problem like you have on Pond 1. You get erosion. It makes the erosion happen that much quicker, okay? That's what happens with it, if you only do half. And I looked at a contract on Pond 4, and it said in that contract written in, if you do half of it, you're going to cause more erosion on the other side. So when the engineers recommend something and you don't follow it, then you're not really doing what the engineer says anyway. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The engineering report, this is a quote, recommends complete replacement of the existing retaining wall. He saw active erosion. An existing wall is inadequate, making it susceptible to soil loss and undermining. This puts it at a liability, just like the buildings. If you were walking by and that wall came loose, you could be hurt, you could be injured. Huh? So we are just as liable for that pond as we are for the buildings. Your time is up, I think.
Yes, Bob.
Bob Stober, Building 40. I've had enough issues with my place with erosion on that end The retaining wall needs to be done. The engineer said he needed it, yes, Chuck, the engineer said it was needed to be done. And if you want to pay for my damage again, that's fine, but I don't want it to happen again.
Thank you, Bob.
Hold on a second.
Keith Keller, 23D. Pond 3 has been put off for a long time and needs to be done as the current proposal stands.
Thank you.
Thank you. Frank Kreitzer, 19I.
Are we ready to make a motion?
Not yet.
Well, I was hoping not, but maybe you are. I don't know.
Not
Are
yet.
we ready?
Go ahead,
All
Frank.
right. I read the report, okay, and I was impressed with what it didn't say. So I called up Clay over at Shoreline Engineering, and I told him that the previous board was concerned about damage to the buildings that had already caused Bob's building to collapse. And so he said to me, he said, the ponds are too far away from the building, that's why I never addressed it. He went on to go talk about all the things he did see, and at the end I said to him, Clay, I said, could you tell me if the buildings would be in danger in 5 years? He said, no. He said, I couldn't tell you if there's going to be in danger in 5 years, 10 years, or another 50 years. So basically,
He couldn't tell you.
he couldn't tell me. It says you have to monitor the situation, which makes sense because let's assume a hurricane hits it this week. Guess what? All bets are off. You know, it was like your story about long-term planning. No way the people could have figured out that they were going to change the insurance laws so drastically and say they don't want to insure roofs over 15 years. You couldn't plan for that, so you have to adjust. I'm just telling you that the engineer definitely said the ponds do not create any issue at this point.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Any more comments?
Frank?
So, Jacob, 24. So here's the question. I think you had damage to building 40 that required reconstruction. What was the cost for that? Does anyone know? I thought it was like $50K.
To lift the building?
It was over $200,000 to fix that building.
Over 200,000.
Yeah, so it makes sense to...
To building
if-
40
if-
and 39.
If and only if it's true that the lake is the problem, then yeah, it makes sense. But I don't think it is.
Oh, can't keep talking. He had his 3 minutes.
Diane McIntyre, 29E. You know, we've been talking about these ponds for 10 years. And every time there's a crisis that happens that we don't do it, we push it off. It's time that we do it. You know, we have to bite the bullet. Why? Because it's important. If we don't maintain our land, the owner of our land can say, I'm going to do it, and this is what the cost is, and they're going to make their own decisions. This board has at least done the research to find out what is the most economical way to fix it.
Hold on, Frank is next.
This is all...
Frank Zadarsky, 48B. As far as your building, I understand. Everyone talked about the ponds, but they were concerned about the pipe causing the leak to your building. And they found there was no leak. Of course not. There's a brand new pipe. What caused the leak to your building is when they dug that hole to put that pipe in there, caused all that erosion to slot and cause your building collapse, not the retention pond. My feelings is this, like some other people said, get the railings and staircases fixed first. If one of them collapses with somebody on it or under it, we got a big lawsuit. Ponds, if that wall falls down, who cares? We had the whole one collapsed over here. We still use the golf course, and we still use hole 1. We can use hole 2 if that board came down. And it ain't coming down because I took pictures of it and what it is. And I remember back 20 years ago, Jack Houlihan, Frank, and Tommy, and even our Jim, our airmates man, were repairing them bulkheads ourselves in them days. That's where the problem is, because it wasn't done really deep enough to be protected. Even if they collapse now, all this is soil fall down. All we need is to get dirt in there and fill it up. No big deal. Staircases, that's a headache. Let's stay on that. If you want that whole amount of money you want from me now to put on the staircases, I'm all for it. I'll give it. But if you're going to start playing with this pond, I'm going to be really upset. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. We're getting off the point here. This is for the ratification.
Yeah, I do want to
This is not
correct
the
something here.
assessment meeting.
There was the comment about the engineer or the building engineer that actually fixed Bob's building. He said in a meeting right here, and he said, just like the other engineer said, the buildings are set too far back. He said it in a meeting right here. He's asked that question by a homeowner, and he said that. What he said was 95% certain the pipe they put in there caused a problem because they didn't get a permit, they didn't inspect it, they didn't compact the soil right, and all the soil washed into the hole. That's what he said in the meeting. I was sitting right here, you know, and unfortunately, that was one of the ones that was selective taping, okay? So it wasn't taped, so you couldn't see it, but it is in the minutes. I read the minutes, it's in the minutes.
All right, this is supposed to be 3 minute, you've had 3, and now another.
3 minutes per subject.
This is a ratification meeting, not the assessment meeting. We explained it, did you not? It's a board meeting,
Wait, Frank is next.
but it's kept to the agenda. This will be on Thursday, it'll be like.
Uh, Yeah, okay, Frank Kreitzer, 19I, one more time. Diane, just to address what you were saying, this goes back a long ways, and I started it, unfortunately, because there was a debate between Bob Pearson and Dave Yadowski about pond number 5. That's how far back it goes. And they couldn't seem to agree on it. So I took them over to the board, to the engineering department, and they handed out a process on how to maintain the ponds, which you can go and look and see. None of them on there has anything to do with bulkheading ponds, okay? Jim Hensel tried to explain that to some of the people on the board last time he was here, and they kind of poo-pooed it, all right? So it's not something that has to be done the way it is being done, and the question now becomes, do we have to do it at this point? That's up to the board.
God,
Okay. What exactly is this ratification thing that we're doing today? Oh, I'm Diane Parks, 45D, in case y'all didn't know. Could you explain that to me? Because I'm confused about that. If everything was done properly, why are we ratifying something?
As it was explained, it was being ratified, so it goes into the minutes. The official, it goes into the official record for the community that the unanimous consent forms were ratified at a board meeting.
correct.
So why?
Which we voted.
You did it at a board.
Right now.
But you didn't do anything on email. You didn't vote for any of these contracts on email?
No, I mean,
Well, how didn't you? Because it was on the thing that they were already been okayed, that you were going to do it.
they signed unanimous consent form that they,
When, today, they signed a unanimous consent form?
not today, previous today they're ratifying it.
Oh,
With a
wow,
board
you
meeting.
guys can get around anything.
State law. 718.
Okay, Sabrina, you ready for the motion? Go for it.
One more.
I make a motion to ratify.
Wait, they said one more.
Okay.
Wally Tejan, 45A. Just so I understand, you as a board, when you address these issues, did you consider doing the buildings first, and then after they were done, do the pond, which is what Chuck Parks is suggesting? Did you consider that, and come up with the fact that you want to address both issues now, as opposed to addressing just one?
Who wants to answer? Sabrina, you want to answer?
I couldn't hear him good.
Go ahead.
Repeat the question for me. Brenda, what was the question?
The question is, did the board consider to holding off on the pond and just doing the buildings first, and then bring the pond in? And again, this is the first 10 buildings. We have 51 buildings to address in the next couple of years. So whether you
Well,
do the
we don't
pond...
know, we would like to do them quicker, but we don't know what it's gonna cost, so it could take 5 years, and it could take, you know,
That's
we
the
don't know,
buildings.
it could take less, but that pond is not in great shape according to we did consider it, but according to the engineering report that we got, the pond is not in good shape, and there's many reasons why we have to repair the pond. First of all, it is part of our land lease that we have to keep the pond up, and the pond is not just for holding up the buildings, which is something Chuck and some of the people keep bringing it up. That's not why we're doing the pond. The pond is, I forgot the technical name for, and not retention basin, what's that water authority, the Florida Water Authority, what they call it. It's a water management type of a system, and the plumbing needs to be right for government purposes and for the pond to be operating correctly. The plumbing and nothing is working correctly there. It needs to all be fixed. It has nothing to do with the buildings. It has to all do with the pond.
Did that answer your question?
And erosion.
And erosion, and part of it is, the other thing is the erosion issue. Nothing is working right. That thing is not for beauty. That thing has a purpose. And we are mandated to take care of it.
And if we had a major flood and those ponds and those retention basins failed, we're gonna have a lot bigger issue because our ponds will not work correcly.
I've been coming to meetings since we moved here in 2020, and I have all my minutes here, and I went through, and this Pond 3 has been talked about for over 3 years. And it's every time we need to get it done, but we don't have the money. It needs to be done, but we can't, and it's several boards. In fact, Chuck, didn't you vote for ponds being done at one time?
No, I didn't. I'm the one that had them put it on hold for a year. I brought it up and had it put on hold for a year.
Only 3.
Chuck,
Okay.
June 3rd, 2023, there was a special assessment of which, I believe it was like 81,000. It included 3 ponds, 1, 2, and 25. It passed by unanimous vote, and you were one of the unanimous voters.
If you look at the thing that was already voted on in March 7th is when it was brought up. I mean, when it was voted on before then. I got on the board March 3rd, okay? I did not vote on it. What I did in my time is, because of the high assessments for insurance, I asked the board to put the ponds off for a year, because we were paying an extra $500 a month assessment over the 2 years, okay? All we're asking this board to do is not put the pond off, put it off so we can do the buildings. We're gonna have $600,000 if we don't do the pond. We can add 10 buildings to this contract right now and get 20 done this year, okay? That's all we're asking.
Okay, thank you. One more, this is...
We're calling it here.
Yeah.
It's Lewis from 35J. I understand what everybody's talking about with the pond, but I can't understand the idea of spending $600,000 on infrastructure at this place when we can't maintain the infrastructure that we have. So if you spend $500,000 on a boat hole and you just put it in the middle of that pond, in 5 years it'll be all rotted out if you don't maintain it. And that's the thing. That's a lot to have to maintain. And we didn't maintain it as it existed. That bulkhead could be repaired. But you bring people in, they want the big money. They don't want to think out of the box. And I can't believe we're going to spend $600,000 on more infrastructure on land that we don't even own and won't own till 2033 when our buildings are falling apart. It makes absolute no sense. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's not 600,000.
Not 600, and we are mandated to maintain. We are mandated by
We're
our
good?
lease to maintain our property.
Sabrina?
Yeah, you didn't hear me?
No, go ahead, make the motion.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right, I make a motion to ratify the America Strong Construction contract for Pond 3 in the amount of $436,320 plus $87,264 for contingencies.
I second it. To vote,
Go ahead and do the vote,
Sabrina?
Brenda.
Vote, Sabrina?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Paul? Yes. Eileen?
Yes.
Brenda? Yes.
All of the contracts have been ratified.
Okay.
What'd she say?
Your meat tenderizer.
A meat tenderizer. So can we
Adjourn. Do we have any?
I make a motion to
further
adjourn.
Comments, or do we
Nope.
adjourn? Are we
Second it.
good?
Adjourn it.
Meeting's adjourned.
Okay, meeting
Be
adjourned.
back Thursday at 10.
My meat tenderizer.
Sick of him.
See you later. Okay, we're done.